Okay, I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting of October 26, 2020. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon,
Yes, here.
Bavacqua,
Here.
Albrecht,
Here.
Harrison,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Sage,
Here.
Salvia.
Here.
Thank you. Now we're going to have Councilmember Albrecht read the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Mayor Vixen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Albrecht. Man, that was easy. That was good. So welcome everybody on this cold evening outside, but nice and warm in here, I imagine. First, we have public comment, non-scheduled presentation. Is there any public comment that is not going to be on an agenda item tonight?
Yes, Mayor. I received a public comment from a representative from the Leader Dogs for the Blind. Her name is Christy Plesher. If you don't mind, I will read that into the record
Thank you,
right now. She says, I am writing to bring your awareness to the limited public transportation options in our community. As a certified orientation and mobility specialist at Leader Dogs for the Blind, it is my pleasure to work in a community with as many accessibility features as downtown Rochester. I have taught orientation and mobility in 3 different states and in over 30 different counties. The APS systems and walkability of Rochester are among the best I've worked with in a city of its size. The logical next step is to provide more robust transportation options for non-drivers within and outside of Rochester to come in and access our beautiful downtown. While the OPC option is a great one for seniors and people with disabilities, its coverage area is limited and we could do more to bring in people from neighboring communities. Now is a great time to begin discussions about opting into Smart Bus transportation system, especially considering they are in the process of optimizing routes to better serve riders. Thank you for taking the time to consider this important issue.
Thank you. Anything else, Jane? For now? No?
Not that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. So tonight we do not have a consent agenda. We do not have any old business. We do not have a public hearing. And we do not have legislative deliberation. But yes, we do have things to talk about tonight. So first we have reports and regular business. Is a discussion of health and stop-loss insurance, dental and vision renewals, and Public Act 152. So I know there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of work with the administration and various council members. So we'll have Blaine start to lead us off with a presentation on our employee healthcare, dental, and vision benefits and analysis of therefore. So, Mr. City Manager Blaine.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully that's pulling up. Everybody see it?
Yes.
All right, great. So I just have a few slides that I want to go through and talk about. So our upcoming health plan year, we did do a request for proposals and we received several from Blue Cross. So there'll be a few options that we'll be talking about, as well as one from the local government health consortium. So annually, we go out and see if it's annually, it happens to always be health because the various providers only provide 1 year, but depending on dental, vision, life, and our other insurances, sometimes we have multiple years that are 2, 3 for dental, vision, and life insurance. So this year for our renewal, we have health, we also have dental, we also have vision. In addition, as the mayor noted, annually the city has to opt out of Public Act 152. And for this year, like I said, we received several options from Blue Cross as well as the consortium. The current groups that the city health insurance works for, so we have our active employees. Those are all on a high deductible PPO with a healthcare savings account. There's our pre-65 retirees. So those are individuals that have retired from the city that aren't yet 65 years of age. There's a few subgroups, but the majority are on the same plan as our active employees. And then there's our post-65 retirees, and there's primarily two subgroups. There's a Medicare Advantage with Blue Cross currently, with a $250 deductible. There's a couple different flavors for the prescription. And then there's a supplemental plan with parts A and B. This is the quick look kind of comparison. I'm really not going to focus too much on going through all of these. However, option one is keeping everything the same. That would have an increase for our active employees of 9% with Blue Cross. And it's about 9 to 9.3% for our retiree population. That would be a grand total of 1.4 and change. Again, that's kind of a good baseline. Options 2 and 3 really are some variations from Blue Cross. However, I would not be recommending them. Option 4 is the new Blue Cross recommendation that came in this past late Thursday. That has a Medicare Advantage for our post-65 retirees for everybody with a 0 deductible and a 10/20 for the prescription drugs. And similar to that is the overall consortium, which is the option 5, which would mirror the benefits for our active employees and the pre-65, but again, move all of the retirees and the post-65 to a Medicare Advantage plan. That plan happens to be a little bit more expensive than the Blue Cross one, which did come in slightly lower. So if you look at your screen, when you're doing the comparison, you can see that Blue Cross came in for the Medicare Advantage at $107 compared to the $113 that the consortium has, which is a dramatic change from our current price right now, which has the half of our retirees on the Medicare Advantage with Blue Cross with a $250 deductible, and the others on the Medicare supplemental. As you can see, there's over $100,000 in difference. Communication, which has been a big component for water rates, sewer rates, and anything that the city actually works on. Just to note, there's been more than 25 group meetings with our employee and retirees, really over the last primarily 3 weeks, but from early October, we've had quite a few meetings. In addition, there's been some one-on-one meetings with employees and retirees. However, we started talking with our unions way back when we negotiated our current contracts with each of them. Once that language was agreed to, and as the city has been going through our renewal process, we've been communicating, sharing information, having various meetings, and then answering questions and concerns. The city has also been communicating with our active employees that are non-union, as well as some of the union employees after a certain point in time, through our monthly newsletter, our in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, and through email. And finally, with our retirees, both the post-65 and pre-65, they were all sent a packet of information in early October via FedEx. That was also that same day followed up with emails being sent with the same information. A second round of information was sent through U.S. certified mail. Again, emails were also sent with that same information. Finally, emails were sent with the quick update or the quick look update that I just shared on the slide before this past Saturday. And that same information was also updated in the city council packet. So recommendations. So for our dental, vision, and then opt-out, those I think will be the easiest for council's consideration. The dental proposal is for 1-year renewal with a slight increase of $5,133. Some of that will be offset by our employees who do pay the 20% to opt into dental. The vision has a 1-year renewal at a 0% increase. Additionally, as they've noted earlier and the mayor noted, the city will need to opt out of Public Act 152. And again, all those were explained in the memo on page 5. As for the health insurance, I'm recommending City Council consider both options 4 and 5. Again, if Council would like to stay with Blue Cross, That would be option 4. That has Blue Cross as the vendor. The active employees and pre-65 retirees would have no changes. The post-65 retirees would all be moved to the 0 deductible Medicare Advantage. Again, half of our retirees, are already on the Medicare Advantage with the $250 deductible and various prescriptions. This new 0 deductible would save those retirees some additional dollars, both on the deductible component, because it's going from $250 down to 0, and for the prescription drugs, which now will be a 10 and a 20. As Blue Cross submitted this proposal so late in the process, the effective date would not be 1/1 of 2021. It would be actually February 1st of 2021. The other option for council's consideration is to move the entire group over to the local government consortium. Active and pre-65 retirees would have the same benefits, but those are through Aetna instead of Blue Cross. The post-65 also move to a 0 deductible Medicare Advantage plan, but this is also through the Aetna, again, instead of Blue Cross. Either of those are viable, and staff doesn't have a problem with council selecting either. Be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Albrecht.
I don't know if I have any questions, Blaine. You've done an outstanding job of communicating with ahead of time. Mayor, I've been giving this a lot of thought, and as some of the other members of City Council know, this is what I do in my day job as a human resource executive. And I just want to comment on the process and where we're at up till today. First off, City Manager Wing should be commended for the fact that he has had the foresight to get us to this day and time, because several years ago we went to a self-insured product, which was the right decision and continues to be the right decision. He's negotiated in good faith on our behalf with the unions to get us in a position to present something like this. And what he's done in terms of this consortium proposal, if I was a business owner and I was making a decision, I would pick option 5 in a millisecond, because it is, it's taking the long view, it's providing benefits equal to, and in some cases better, with the Medicare Advantage Blue Cross Blue Shield option that I'm sure Aetna would or the consortium would mimic if we asked them to. And that's what we have to look for the long view. This is not just a decision, for today. However, this is not a business. This is a city made up of administration, made up of first responders, police, fire, our DPW department, who are unionized. And so we have to look at this through their eyes. And I think all of us have tried to do that. I've read and gone over all the materials that Blaine and Mark, the benefit consultant, provided. I've read the 2 letters that came in from retirees that I assume are in the supplemental plan. Didn't identify as such because I thought that was important to read that. And thank you, Clerk O'Connor, for making sure we had that in our packet this past weekend. All that being said, we are in a time crunch here that is a no fault of anybody. I know, dealing with the insurance companies, they get their renewals late in the game. We have to make a decision on the October 26th meeting. And that being said, Blaine and his team have done an outstanding job of trying to reach out to the retirees, whether they're pre-65 or post-65, the active employees. He's reached out to all of us city council members. I sat with him and Mark for half an hour going over the details, and I had everything to read beforehand, and they answered every question I had and then some. But time's not our friend here, because we have to make a decision now. I look at the 2 options, option 4 and option 5, as good options. However, option 4 is the one I would support for the following reasons. One, the fact that Blue Cross Blue Shield sharpened their pencil over the, in the last few days provides the retirees, including the two people who sent letters to us, with a better plan, with a zero deductible and coverage, and really gets all of our retirees and future retirees on the Medicare Advantage plan with the low deductible. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer, not only for the savings, forget about the savings, I'm leaving that off the table, but for the people. I worry about the people, the retirees. That's my job as a human resource executive. So I think they're going to, and now as a city council member, I think they're going to look at this and go, hey, this is a good deal. Why I can't support option 5 is through no fault of Mark and City Manager Wing. They did everything in their power and their research and their negotiations to get us to this point. However, we're in a year that's been anything but normal. And my challenge would be, if we were doing this vote a year from now, I would go for option 5. And what's going to happen between now, today, and a year from now is more education to the active employees to say, hey, we have to do this. We have to take a long view. At the end of the day, and I've looked at both plans side by side, and outside of a half a dozen doctors that I'm sure we can get assimilated into the consortium plan, these plans are identical. The difference is going to be you're going to reach into your wallet and pull out a different color card than the Blue Cross Blue Shield card. So I think the fiduciary responsibility of this city council and administration is that we take the long view. And the long view in my mind is to approve option number 4, which is going with the Blue Cross, staying on Blue Cross Blue Shield for all employees, but taking advantage of this sharpened pencil proposal they made for the retirees, pre and post retirees, with the lower deductible, and to then use the next year to continue to educate our employees to say, we have to be in a position next year where we reduce the healthcare costs. They're not going down, not for businesses, not for cities, not for anybody. Maintaining the status quo is not acceptable anymore. You can't do that anymore, not for a business, not for a government. So I would make a motion to support option number 4 and to authorize the resolution opting out of Public Act 152.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Albrecht, support by the Mayor Pro Tem Bevacqua. Before we get to further council, I guess we'd like to maybe hear if we have public comment. Jane, do we have anybody?
There are a couple of numbers on the line. If you are calling in by phone and you would like to speak, if you can hit *9 to raise your hand, or if you are on the Zoom app and see the ability to raise your hand in the bottom bar, usually. And if not, if I'm missing you, if you want to shout out, that will be all right as well.
*6.
*6 to unmute if you're on the phone. Don't see anyone unmuting or raising their hand this time.
Okay, because I know this is a big issue. If they figure that out as we're going, we can go back to them. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I am in support of Councilmember Albrecht's motion. I think that this is the fiscally responsible decision to make at this time, while still maintaining the quality of care for our retirees. So I am in support of this, and I'm grateful for the effort that our finance committee and our city manager put into proposing these plans and taking the time to share with us all of the information. I can tell you I have learned a lot about healthcare coverage in the last couple of weeks, and I'm grateful for that education.
Thank you. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to commend city manager Wing and the administration for the work that they put into this analysis and giving us a path to make a good decision. My question would center more on what Councilmember Albrecht mentioned in regards to the review. So the ongoing review, if you will, staying in touch with the consortium, finding out if other municipalities have been approached and their thoughts on it, keeping the participant groups involved in those discussions as well throughout the next 12 months. I mean, do we have a path for that, a plan for that? That would be my only question.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, so the finance director and assistant, Marcy and Anthony, along with Joellen, our HR generalist, and myself, meet with our consultant. We can provide updates quarterly as a comparison analysis of what it would look like if the city would have chosen the consortium model, as well as having the actual data from Blue Cross as we go through. Would be happy to, provide that to council at the same time, and I can continue to be in touch with the union groups. We identified several individuals from each union who are interested in health insurance. I could reconfirm that those are the individuals and keep them updated. As we're still in the stop loss, and that's what we're proposing with either one of these options, 4 or 5, to be in the consortium since that was the lowest price. I'll continue to get consortium information, and I'll be able to share that as well. We'll learn through the quarterly meetings through the consortium who the new members are. They don't necessarily share who they've given proposals to, but I can make requests, and if some of those communities happen to reach out or even ask us, I'm happy to pass that along.
And I appreciate that, and I'm looking for more of a proactive approach versus the reactive approach. In the third quarter of next year, I would assume that the consortium would also be in contact with Blue Cross Blue Shield to provide some updates to them as well, in the thought that they might want to join in the plan.
Yeah, my understanding is the consortium's reached out to them along with other providers such as Priority Health, HAP, and some others. And so I would expect over the next couple of years, and probably even by this time next year, that there could be a few other providers other than Aetna.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Bavacqua.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going to say that I agree with everything that the council members have said so far. Also wanted to add that I think that Blaine and the administration and Mr. Mankin have done an excellent job. We wouldn't have gotten the response from Blue Cross if we hadn't have gone through this process. So at the very least, the value is there for doing, the job that you've done. So we appreciate that. I think moving forward, when you see groups maybe like MML come out and endorse this consortium, there's going to be some momentum to move towards this. And I just think we all need to keep an eye on it and keep doing the due diligence. So, thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. Question, just wanted to know, have all the retirees in the unions agreed with or been in favor of this new Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan?
Well, yeah. So the unions are fine with staying with the current Blue Cross. So this option 4 would stay the same. It would still be with Blue Cross. The retirees that are in the pre-65 also have no changes. So that is the bulk. You did receive from 2 retirees, which I would believe are both in the Medicare supplement. They voiced their concerns. So I would say that there's not, overall consensus, but the unions wanted to stay the same, and this option 4 does allow that, or does that. And for the pre-65, that also does that. For the small group that is the ones that are on the supplement, you did receive, or the city received, these two letters of, I guess, opposition. Yeah.
All right. So, and then I do appreciate hearing that, and seeing that Blue Cross and Blue Shield had, so that's all good. My concern is, knowing the state that everything is in right now, being fiscally sound and all of that, that is all good, except for the fact that if we are going to change, the insurance programs for those who are probably needing it the most during this time, without them, I guess, if it was that simple, I'm not sure why we haven't heard that they're okay with the change to this one here. And I'm not comfortable during the COVID, that we're still under of making a major change like this with anyone's insurance. I'm glad that they reached out and Blue Cross did and made some changes, but I'm not comfortable doing this here if we still have people who are not comfortable, because they're the ones who probably need the insurance the most at this time. They are in the most high risk category of, health concern for the COVID. So I could not be in support of this tonight under those conditions, knowing that there's still people that are, not happy with these changes, unless you have spoken to them after the fact to assure them that change is very minimal.
I have spoken to at least one retiree. I will note that currently the plan that they're on has a $198 deductible. Going to a zero will actually save them that $198. The drug option is a 1020, and so for the individuals that are on the 1040, they'll actually save an additional $20 again. So they won't have a copay now. They won't have a deductible because it's gone from $198 down to zero. And for the ones that are on the 1040, they'll now be going to a 1020. So they'll also be saving money on their prescription drugs.
Okay, so Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Peterson.
So there's no other changes whatsoever? None? I mean, because my concern is if we were to make this change, and they are the most high-risk category age group right now under the state of the country's health. So I don't want to see us, two people is too many to affect at that age, in that age group.
Yeah, so it's fundamentally changing from the Medicare supplement to the federally sponsored and approved Medicare Advantage. So, I mean, I couldn't say that there's not. To me, the Medicare Advantage actually is a better product, and a zero deductible is the best you can get. Every time I've gone through this process to get individuals who are retirees onto Medicare Advantage, it is a overall better product. You now just have one card. This one happens to be managed by Blue Cross, and it's a nationwide. The federal program's nationwide. So to me, quite honestly, other than having a zero cost for prescriptions, this is about as good as it can be. Our consultant, Mark, could probably talk about the 30-some communities that he's also moved over to the Medicare Advantage. And again, this is an improvement over our current Medicare Advantage, which is the $250 that the majority of our retirees are already on. So for that group, we're actually improving the benefit from a $250 deductible and a $1040 for a drug plan to a $1020 and a zero deductible.
Okay, and Mayor, just to follow up, so then how does that change work with this new Blue Cross Blue Shield plan with the Medicare? If they have a pre-existing condition, is that going to change anything? Just say if they did. I mean, I really want these all open questions.
Yep. So that was a common question. We had retirees who, have shared with me that they've had organ transplants. We've had somebody who shared with me that they've had cancer. All those pre-existing conditions, everything carries over from Blue Cross to the Blue Cross Medicare Advantage. They'll have no difficulty. Same drugs, all that stuff. Okay. I was able to walk through with each retiree who contacted me and explain that. And I'm happy as council, if you choose option 4, because it came in so late, instead of our January 1st changeover, it actually won't be effective until February 1st. So that will actually give staff 90 days instead of just 60 days to actually work with these retirees. Again, more than half of them already are on the current Medicare Advantage at the $250. I think those individuals, again, are going to be happy as they're going to save the $250 deductible plus save money on the drugs. It's really that supplemental group that would be the ones that would, could have some questions.
Just so I could comment as well, as Blaine mentioned, we represent about 40 to 50 municipalities and various functions around healthcare, and almost 3/4 of our groups who have retirees have moved to Medicare Advantage over the last decade, most of which in the last 5 years, notable cities like City of Dearborn, All the Grosse Pointes, City of Southfield, they've all moved to this platform in response to some of the state mandates around OPEB. And the reason they've been able to do that is because this program is heavily subsidized by the federal government. And you have half of your Medicare retirees already on this platform. They've been on a Medicare Advantage plan, I think, over 7 years now, with a $250 deductible. So that group themselves will see an improvement in that they'll continue on that Medicare Advantage platform with a lower deductible. So I know there's some retirees, I think even on this call, that probably could comment on the Medicare Advantage plans and the quality of those plans and the accessibility to the same doctors they have today and the same medications they have today. This has been really the platform that has allowed groups to save money and then virtually matching their plans because it is just more subsidized. It's just strictly a matter of federal dollars being allocated to Medicare Advantage so that insurance companies could essentially run a Medicare plan with the federal government kind of stepping aside and saying, you know what, instead of having a Medicare A and B and a supplement, insurance companies, we will give you the money to provide these programs, and they're giving the incentive to better manage retiree health. They add programs like Silver Sneakers, which many retirees ask for all the time. So it's a more robust program, and it provides savings. It's just been one of the mainstay first decisions made to address OPEB issues for almost all my clients.
Anything further, Councilmember Peterson?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Albrecht.
I just wanted to comment. I respect Councilmember Peterson's questions. Those are all good questions. Those are questions that need to be asked, and I'm glad those were made part of the public record. I'm glad that Blaine had addressed that, and Mr. Mangan had commented also, because this plan is, you're right. It is a COVID year. None of the none of the questions about pre-existing conditions, all those kinds of things. This is not going to jeopardize any of the retirees going onto this Medicare Advantage plan. So I'm glad that was asked and answered. And secondly, with the cost, the $198 going to zero, the $1040, meaning $10 for generic, $40 for non-generic, going to $1020. This is a savings for these retirees. They're going to have the same healthcare benefits, but with a better prescription plan. So I'm glad that discussion came about. Secondly, I just wanted to follow up on a point I'd made earlier that Councilmember Sage mentioned, and also Mayor Pro Tem Bavacqua. 2021, as we go through the year next year, will be to maybe go, maybe if the consortium adds some more cities, negotiates with other healthcare providers besides Aetna, till we get to a point next year where we have a better pathway to make a decision. I just wanted to also have that year and ask administration to continue the good work they've been doing with the communication and work with the unions. This city council has done everything, and prior city councils, to show our support and love for our first responders and our union employees. From the time through the COVID crisis with the hazard pay, authorizing City Manager Wing to negotiate in good faith on the different contracts and everything else like that. we are on the side of our first responders and our other union employees. I just hope this next year we can get with them, educate them on the different products, so that there's not in their mind, they probably felt it was a rush decision, again, through no fault of anybody here or anybody on this call, but that they will have the information that when we come to this decision next year, maybe it's not as daunting as it appeared to be this year with some of the questions that City Manager Wing and Mr. Mangwin had to deal with. So, if we go with option 4, approve that, it's a win for the whole groups, because one, they're staying on Blue Cross Blue Shield, but again, the retirees are getting this Medicare Advantage, and we sort of push the decision on the consortium to next year when we have more information, maybe more traction going with other cities and other plans to have a more robust discussion with both union and non-union officials that will be covered by this plan. I think it speaks volume that the finance department and City Manager Wing, who are also employees and would participate in this plan, all felt that this was a good decision this year. And I think if we can get more people to look at it over the next year, we could have a better outcome come this time next year. Thank you, Mayor.
Any further comments?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Okay, so how are we with this new plan and the stop loss? My concern is because it is COVID and we're going to change. And I understand that everyone is saying that, because I can read the prescription cost and those things are, going to be less for them. But what would happen if any of our people in that pre to post category end up with, something catastrophic happening and our stop loss and it goes way over? How soon, what happens with that at that point in time? I just think that we're at a very difficult area right now to make changes to any insurance, especially if it's this simple. I don't understand why people have not, gravitated to it to be happy with it and want it. So I guess that's my question for for that concern there. What's going to happen and how much we end up having to pay if we had a couple of catastrophic claims in the next year and a half?
So the post 65 group is not covered underneath our insurance that has the stop loss. It's covered underneath the federal program or underneath Blue Cross right now. So if any of the retirees that are in a post 65 had a catastrophic claim, in essence, the federal government picks that up. That's not going to impact the city. Now, for our active employees, that does cover underneath. So if we do have employees that have costs that are up to the stop loss, which is at $125,000, the city would be on the hook for the up to the $125,000 to pay Blue Cross. Then we have our stop loss insurance that will pick up anything over that. So $125 and $1, that's where the stop loss insurance would pick in. We actually would have a better, cushioning being through the consortium, as it would level it out over the number of years compared to the 1 year that we would have to pay it through Blue Cross. However, we've built up over the last 4 years, Anthony, I think it's probably around 340, maybe 350,000 at this point, into our revolving fund. So we're at a much better position to absorb a few of those high claims. However, that's part of the challenge and one of the reasons to eventually go to a cooperative or a consortium, similar to what we do with our risk for our property with the MML, also our workers' comp with the MML, because we can kind of spread costs over time, as well as the risk is actually covered by a much larger group of municipalities.
All right, thank you. That's all, man.
Anything further? Anybody from the audience? Jane? No?
Not that I see, Mayor.
Okay.
Again, it's *9 if you're on the phone, or if you just want to unmute, if that's easier for you. If you are on the phone, that's *6.
Okay.
Mayor, could I, a point of clarification, I did not hear anything for the renewal on the dental and the vision. If that was going to be separate, that's fine. I just, at some point, need somebody, that's fine for the motions to be separate. I just,
Councilmember Albrecht, was that part of your motion?
It was not, but I will amend my motion to include the renewal of the dental and vision also, Mayor Bixon.
Okay, thank you. And is the Mayor Pro Tem okay with that?
Or
So in summary, it's option 4, renewal of dental vision and opt out of 152.
Correct. Correct. I'd like to make a couple quick comments as well. First, I would like to thank the city manager for the job he did. He did an exhaustive amount of work to bring this to us. And I appreciate his work on that and the staff. And that is the job of the city manager and administration, is to bring to the city council options for efficiencies for us then to make the decisions on. So I appreciate that. I promised that I would not vote to publicly and privately to do anything that would hurt the employees' benefit plan. And, you know, I kept that promise, and I will support this measure. So I think everybody can feel very confident that this city council is thinking about the employees at all times and trying to do the best that we can for them. You know, these benefits are extremely good. And make no mistake about it, these are good benefits. And we should be proud of the fact that we provide our employees with really top flight benefits. And, you know, we plan on keeping them the best we can. But these are difficult times, and it's difficult to make this change in a very short notice and during a pandemic. So that makes it a difficult thing. And so I believe also that this is not time to change. And I will support option 4, keep the Blue Cross the same, and to move a small group of retirees into the plan that I believe is as good or better for them as well. So Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Bixon,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
No.
Sage,
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to administration and council for your hard work. And thank you to all the people who called us and had questions and really made this process, I think, an excellent process for all of us. And as Councilmember Harrison said, I think we all learned a lot. Maybe Councilmember Albrecht didn't learn too much, but I think all the rest of us all learned a lot about benefits and really how important benefits are to individuals and to the finances and the financial future of our city. So next we have the first quarter report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, and its anticipated budget impact. Mr. City Treasurer, Anthony? Or is
Thank
it
you,
gonna
Mayor
be manager?
and Council. I will do a quick screen share.
Excuse me, Mayor, don't we have the resolution of the bond authorization and the DWRF project first?
Yeah, that was pulled from the agenda. That is not.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's correct. Correct, Bob Blaine?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
There'll be we'll discuss under miscellaneous, a special meeting for later on this week under miscellaneous.
Okay, Anthony, go ahead, please.
All right. Hopefully everyone can see this here. I wanted to give a quarterly update. We're at the end of just past the first quarter now for FYE 21. The city's fiscal year ends June 30th each year. And so we're at the end of the first quarter. I wanted to start with what's obviously on the minds of everyone. The discussion tonight, the citizens, council, employees, is what's going on with the city and with respect to COVID-19 and the financial implications of that. So far, at this moment in time, we are had an impact of a little over $350,000. That is detailed here in this chart that is I have broken out of the various categories. So, for instance, when we first went to remoting, if there's any computers, cell phones, things that are needed for remoting in, that was the needs for the staff, as well as cleaning supplies and services for employees as they're coming back, and then management as well, which can cover anything from executive order interpretation with the attorneys to some other administrative costs. On the revenue side, this is the big one. This is where we are seeing the immediate impact of COVID with the parking fund, which as of the 10/10 date is about 650,000 below what it normally would be. Now, this is, I will say we are monitoring it still. What is good to see is that each week that the meter revenue is really the biggest revenue generators, the parking meters and the platform. Those parking meters are used more and more and more and more, and that hasn't leveled off yet. To give just councils and everyone just a broad general idea, let's say as of this report, everything was flat. That was just where the parking meters were going to stay, and they're not seeing any changes. What that would mean to the parking fund is an operational loss of approximately $400,000 a year. Obviously, we're not there yet. We haven't come to an equilibrium yet. The PAC has a meeting that's going to be scheduled, I believe, the second week of December, where we'll have over 30 days of good data on what the parking system is doing, what the fund is looking like, as well as the beginning of Big Bright, which is a big driver that essentially increases the average of all the other months of the year, because that's one of the largest drivers. So there will be a plan that will be presented. They were asking for administration's recommendation on, okay, well, let's just say that $400,000 decrease is going to become the new normal. What does the parking fund budget look like operating under that as a new normal? What are things that either need to be changed, cut, tweaked? What levers are there still to pull, to change, to look at? That was their task for us to come back at that December meeting once we kind of see what's going on from there. Moving down below that, we have just a few other ones. The Act 51 funding, this is where your sales tax, the tax revenue from gasoline is. So we had a decrease of approximately $41,000. And since the stay-at-home restrictions were lifted, that has since bounced back and seen it just as high now as it was prior to the lockdown. So not anticipating, pending any other lockdowns, that would have any further effect. So laid these all out here. The bottom section here is getting rather large, but this is where we're getting the stimulus, and every grant that we've either been awarded or in part or have been part of. There are many other ones that were not awarded, but these are the ones that we have either received money from or have been approved and awarded, but perhaps not reimbursed yet. So when we take the reimbursement amounts, in this case, 891,000, and net it against all of the some of the lost revenue and the expenses, that's where we're at the current 353,000 impact. If we look over time, before the grants started to come in for each month, expenses were growing. This is the cumulative total here, and this is the monthly totals that are above each one. So we're right at $1 million, right at the peak, and some of that, where did that $1 million of unforeseen expenses and lost revenue How do you deal with that? That's with our fund balance policy. So council has established the fund balance policy that's reviewed annually, and emergencies are a part of that. So being able to have some of that, those funds in the bank to be able to mitigate, at least on a cash flow perspective, some of the impact of a pandemic is been absolutely instrumental in not letting us miss a beat on providing services of what we can provide and being able to keep that going forward. With these decreases, there are currently no other large grants or reimbursements at this time. So the largest ones here that are in the over $100,000, these have been awarded and given. There's going to be a part 2 to this one, which has the potential of being over 100,000, but that's just due to the state receiving an overwhelming amount of requests that they say that they need until the end of December to be able to navigate through that. So we still may be getting up to about another 100,000 or so, depending on what the state says, for the rest of this grants award. So that's coming. On this second section here, it's the same information from this first page, except I wanted to demonstrate and show council like what does it mean and where, right? That's great that the city's 350,000 on the impact, but where is it? So this is 0. This line right here is the 0 line. So if it's to the right, then that means that fund has received more money. If it's to the left, then that fund has expensed money. The reason on the general fund side that you see it so far to the right is a lot of the grant reimbursements. Those are all to general fund. Those are not reimbursements for things like lost gas tax revenue or penalties or lost parking revenue. It's for other purposes. So that's why general fund ends up netting on the higher side on that one. So we're going to keep this live and going just so we can see where we kind of end up. But at the end of the day, if you look at the city as a whole, the 350,000 at this point in time is the impact. Any questions on this one before I jump to the quarterly? Otherwise, I'll keep cruising.
Anthony, this is Nancy Salvia. Just a quick comment on the first page. The format that you're using on that page 36, I think uses the normal financial conventions where if it's bad news, it's bracketed or it's red.
Mm-hmm.
This first page to me was a little confusing to understand because I kept looking at $891,000. That's money coming in, but it's bracketed.
Mm-hmm.
So in the future, if we could just either use the brackets or make it red or green or something like that, if you were using colors.
Sure.
That'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's an easy change. Yeah, for sure.
Small thing, just a financial geek. It was hurt me. Thank you.
You can't untrain us or something.
Absolutely, will do.
Train or untrain.
All right. None other on that one. Then I'll keep moving along here. On the snapshot side, we have the various funds. And of course, the ones that we're watching is the revenues on general fund. We still have not heard back from the tax tribunal appeals that were submitted. So that's always going to continue to be a monitor until we start hearing back on that area. Major streets, local streets, there's some things that'll be coming to infrastructure, I believe infrastructure, if it hasn't yet, about the sidewalk replacement program. And then for water and sewer fund, the SRF, this was a carryover crossing fiscal years. So nothing was out of where it shouldn't have been, just a matter of timing on how it appears because the expenses came in after June 30th, some of the work on that. So that was just some carryover. DDA and parking system doesn't need any more explanation on parking fund, that's still coming. Then, of course, on the DDA, covering the parking funds, debt service payments for the 3 months prior and 3 after, as well as covering the businesses to not have to pay the 2020 PSD assessment through them on the higher, the sooner rather than later in the fiscal during the fiscal year of having the expenses be, essentially half. But that's the main reasons why the things were funded early in the fiscal year. They're not anticipated to continue on that. Interest rates. I know everyone loves interest income. We're writing out the last 2% investment. That is the highest one that I have currently outstanding. Got about another 6 months on that. Gonna keep riding it right now. Just to give council kind of an idea, that the range is about 14 to 30 basis points. So, I mean, if we can get over 0.3%, I'm not sure where at this point. Nothing that's been available or presented to us. And that's just the nature of the market right now. There's not a lot of return out there for what cities are allowed to invest in. But we do continue to try to maximize as much as possible to get the highest return we can, with safety and liquidity still in mind.
Yeah, I don't see that changing anytime soon either.
Yeah, we just saw. I think Nancy, you're in the field a lot too. But the last one I got from Chase, the economics forecast, they were saying probably 2 years, at least through the end of 21, before you start seeing anything on the fixed income side bouncing back up. Not sure if you're seeing much different on that one, but.
Yeah, I mean, we just, following what the Federal Reserve says, I mean, they say they're holding short-term rates low till 2023. So low, right now they're at 0, so they might come up a little bit, but they're going to be low for quite some time.
Yep. On the, this is for general fund on the revenues. We're still monitoring things that we're seeing what the impact will be. One of the items is the medical reimbursement for ALS, the constitutional sales tax, property taxes, and the appeals. And some of these are kind of things that are indirect. So, for instance, on the medical reimbursement, that's the billing for 911 medical runs that the fire department does. Well, during COVID, when everybody is afraid to go to the hospital or call 911, the calls obviously decrease because of that. Well, one of the waterfall effects of not calling 911 and doing those sorts of things is the reimbursements for the medical ALS runs as a decrease. There's a bit of a lag in that in and of itself, just from when it's billed to collected. So we're watching that, but we are seeing it trail slightly below the 25% mark of where it should be. So we'll see a little bit over this next 3 months, the full impact of what the COVID had on the initial. On the community, I'm sorry.
Anthony, do we think now with the surge coming again, potentially, that we're going to have another hit to that? Potentially.
That is a great question. Don't have the crystal ball answer to that, but that's I'm with it. It will impact it for sure, one way or another. Absolutely, yeah. On the local community stabilization, the check did come in, so this is just a timing. We are watching it because one of the things that typically happens when the state has a budget crunch is they typically start not sharing as much with on the revenue sharing to the municipalities. However, this one seems to be just came in this week that end of last week. It's where it should be. So we're not seeing anything at this point to say that this is going to be less than what they said it was going to be on the initial amount. And then on the building district court reimbursement, it's the same thing. Everybody's staying at home. less traffic offenses and items for the court violations. Expenses on the percent side, they're all within where they should be for one reason or another. On the public library, we did want to note that this is there's 3 payments a year. Timing wise, we made 2 of them, so it's at 68.5%. But it's just a timing issue, not a over expense side. On the general services, this is where the COVID related expenses are charged to. There are a variety of grants that only allow you to apply for reimbursement if it's not budgeted, both in the original or amended budget. So you will not be seeing amended requests for the COVID lines on the expenditures at this time.
Good.
There's 2 or 3 payments. Parking fund, just quick reiteration, that's what's going to come back to council with the December PAC meeting. They're supposed, hopefully we can have a kind of a tentative plan on what is the go forward plan at that point. Obviously the big things that'll be hit are the large ticket items like the maintenance and capital expenditures. Those are the ones that always get pushed off first. So we'll have a plan at that point to then bring forward to council for consideration after that. And then the rest of the report is just report as usual. We have the debt service, the pending bond pension. We still, just as an update, have not heard back from Treasury yet on the submittal. So if we don't hear back by the end of this week, then that'll push the bond issuance out kind of equally. So if they talk to us next week, we'll have to push it out a week. So we're staying on top of them, but we're at their mercy of when they decide to get us into the queue to approve it. So, and then the fund balance policy is the standard format that's been used in the fund balance policy and forward. These are the different funds and what they're at as of pre-audit fund balance is this column right here. So we see where we're at for each of the groupings of the funds. City Manager Wing mentioned right at the $340,000 mark for the healthcare revolving fund. And then just as a note, the money can be moved in the discretionary fund at council's direction in between any of these. That's why I kind of look at it as what's the holistic totals for these groups, because they can be moved around as needed. And then for the rest of the report, it's just the standard format and breakdown with a little bit more detail by fund following the same categories. So with that, if there's happy to take any questions on these.
Councilmember Salvia.
Thank you. Thanks, Anthony. Great report. A lot of information and really good to see that. I think overall, I think the city is in pretty good shape despite COVID in a very challenging year, thanks to the grants and the money we have gotten. As you've pointed out, parking is obviously a concern. Just wanted to clarify. So if we're down 400,000, so we're down 400,000 on $1.5 million budget. And that's after the DDA has kind of spent the rainy day fund to cover a few months there. So is that net we're down 400,000, or is that before that?
So that would be the question I'm always kicking in my head is I'm going to use the trendy word here. What is the new norm going to be, right? So when I'm looking at it, I'm trying to say, okay, well, we know that the use of the parking system is going to be somewhere between nothing and back to where it was pre-COVID. We know it's somewhere in that range. As things have opened back up, we've gotten to see, okay, well, I know it's going to be somewhere below where it was before COVID, but just how close are we going to get to that? So what that 400 is saying, okay, well, if I look at the percent of usage of how much it's getting back as a percent of what it normally would be at this time of the year, and then I annualize that amount. So which means, okay, if I'm at 65% in the meters of where I was, then what's 65% of December, January, February, March, April? What does that look like over a year if 65% is the new,
Yeah.
that's where it springs back to and stops. That annualized is 400,000 a year. So not directly 400,000 in the budget year. It's an operational new normal,
Forecast.
if you will,
Forecast.
of a $400,000 decrease to be the new normal, if you will.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think that makes sense. I know forecasting right now is very challenging because there are unknowns, and there's unknowns in terms of, where we're going to be due to cases on the rise. That's obviously a question. I do think we have to look at ways with the PAC on how to drive more usage into the parking decks. First hour's free. So a lot of people, if you give them the first hour free, then they end up staying, and the parking system makes $1. So we do need to keep looking at that, but thank you for your report.
Good. Further questions? I think that PAC meeting is going to be a interesting meeting in December. So, and it might be hard to tell even by then what the situation is. Okay. Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A couple things. One, on all that bond debt that we have, that
The parking.
one slide. No, the parking. I'll go to parking since you had just spoke about it.
I can reshare. I'll reshare it.
Oh, that's okay. With the PAC, also, because I thought recently we just heard that, we have all this maintenance that needs to be taken care of with that as well.
Right.
Is that going to be part of that whole discussion so we get the full picture of what's going on with the parking deck?
Yes. The parking meters as well.
Right, since those are going obsolete.
Right. 5G, or maybe it's 4G. 6G.
It's going to change from 2G to at least probably 4.
Yeah. Can't we go from 2 to 12 and just, then we'd have different people coming down and being unhappy about that probably.
Quantum parking meters.
So,
technology, Mayor, I'm happy to look into it.
And just so council is on the PAC. So we have what's the new operational budget going to look like? They also requested, Blaine, help me out if I'm leaving anything else. They also wanted to talk about the capital plan. Okay, so what needs to be done? When does it need to be done? And what are some potential asks of various funds for those items? Even looking at things like the prioritizing the parking lots, which ones really should be flood sealed, which ones really need to be replaced. If they need to be replaced, maybe you're not wasting anything on flood sealing and you're just going to do the lots you need to. And can they wait or not wait? Those were some of them. Blaine, I don't know if I'm leaving any out there. There was a few requests on that.
Those were the big ones, along with, so instead of just focusing on the 2 parking decks, we're also looking at all the parking lots. We've now completed the Paiser ratings for all of those. And now we're looking at the maintenance. And then unfortunately, it looks like every 5 to 7 years, similar to a computer server, we're going to have to replace the brains in the smart parking meters. We're looking at everything from, the new, faster 4G, but potentially even the Wi-Fi is a potential longer term solution. So we're looking at alternative.
Mayor, it's Nick. We're looking at kiosks, possibly retrofitting, whatever we have to do.
I appreciate it. I just, there could be some pretty big numbers, so we're going to have to. I hope we can get that worked out, but we'll have to see.
And just another follow-up, Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regarding the long-term debt, Anthony, that you put on the spreadsheet with the all of this. So a lot of these years are going out. I mean, we have quite a few years left on the majority of this here.
Mhm.
Are you seeing any of these stand out that are going to have added expenses to them that we're going to have to budget for in the future?
The capital ones for sure. So take like the facilities bond. So for the new DPW building, that means that's, new building will probably need very little maintenance for 5 years. I don't know how long before new buildings need maintenance, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that looks like. But that's something that, hey, in the future, we're going to have to make sure we start putting money away. When and how much we need to figure that out. For those. Same thing that we're doing now, like the parking decks, those ones for sure, obviously, as we're paying the bonds and then having to have maintenance that comes up with those. Those would be the larger ones. The big bulk of those are the interceptor bonds from the county. Those are ones that are, since we're part of the Oakland Macomb Interceptor Drainage District, not all of that is in our city, but we follow the plan and have to do our share and portion of it. So we don't get a ton of things that we need to necessarily worry about putting money away for, because essentially the county has the plan of what needs to be done and when. So once they vet it out, then they share it to us and say, hey, here's what the next 5 years are going to look like. And then we kind of base our plan off that.
All right, I guess, and then that's fine. I think the report was great. I appreciate really having all the debt in one place and all the spreadsheets and everything to give us a true picture of what's happening. And it does help, especially when we're going to be talking about all the added expense that possibly could happen. So thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. And maybe something to think about, since we're getting zero return on our money. Is there, does it make sense to pay off some of the debt that's at a higher interest rate, and, gain some savings that way? That's something to look forward, maybe during goals and objectives. If you've got some great way to remortgage the house again, it might be helpful.
Sure thing.
Because what interest rate are the parking decks?
Let's see. Right now,
3%.
yeah, between 2 and 3% for those.
And so, I mean, theoretically, there's some,
We can't refinance till 2025. I asked the same question.
Okay.
But it's good to know when, right? Because that
Yeah.
might be the target. Like, hey, as soon as we get to 25, let's already pre-plan on potentially.
Very good. Thank you.
That bid. Yep.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. So, those are ideas we're looking for. Efficiencies any way we can, I guess. Anything further? Okay, thank you. Next
One
one.
thing, I'm sorry, Mayor. One
Yeah.
thing. Do we have the other brownfield on here, or just this is the one, or is this the new one?
The brownfield that's on here is the original one, the first one, and then that million is equal to the loan debt that's outstanding, because that was the loan portion. So that million is on here. That's not for the second one,
Okay.
which Nick or Blaine, I believe that second one, if it does fully get completed, is a grant, not a loan.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Grants are better than loans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next we have a confirmation of a mayoral appointment to the tree committee. A couple things. One, when I appointed the last time, I had not talked to Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas has agreed to be on that committee, so I would like to appoint him so we can either confirm, if the council chooses to, you can confirm him tonight, or you could wait till 2 weeks. So that's up to the council. And also, Councilmember Albrecht forwarded me something. There's some other people wanted to be on the board, but right now the ordinance says 5 people only, 3 council people and 2 citizens. So if the council wanted more people on there, we would have to change the ordinance. But right now in front of us is the mayor appointments to the tree committee.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, with Mr. Thomas or without Mr.?
No, with Mr. Thomas.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Peterson,
Support.
support by Councilmember Sage. Discussion. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Bavacqua,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Thank you. And I think the city manager said that there's some pending issues and you guys may be meeting shortly. So,
Yes.
Yeah, there's at least 2 that have come in.
So that's why we have a tree committee now. Next is an appointment to the Downtown Development Authority. This is for a downtown business person. And I'd like to nominate Tanya Kasten from the Tanya Tea Service, which is right next to the meeting house. So I'd like to nominate, I think you have her information in your packet. Next, and then that'll be next meeting. So next you receive various reports, boards and commissions. This is a receive a report from the Planning Commission. I will be doing that tonight. First, we approved a modular storage facility for the PAR Pharmaceuticals. And actually it's pretty neat that they've gotten approval to do some of the COVID vaccination work. So one, it's exciting there's a vaccine coming. 2, it's exciting that the city is going to, PAR and our city is going to be involved in that. And we're going to, talk about that more and have a kind of press opportunity and stuff to talk about that later on. But that was one of the things. So that was approved. We looked at a conditional zoning request on 443 Wesley. And there was some issues on that. And it was basically not, they wanted to schedule a public hearing, but really didn't get that far. So the applicant needs to come back and look at that. There were some issues with parking and some things like that. And then we had a discussion on the form future land use map zoning classification. And that was the kind of thing where the council, we didn't approve a few of those things towards the end. So Nick has asked our city, has asked Vidya to take another look at it. The Planning Commission is going to take another look at it, forward it to council, and then also forward it to our new master plan company. So that's what we talked about. And then the next meeting, we're going to have a further talk about infill housing and a consideration for another site plan over on diversion. So those are what's upcoming. Councilmember Salvia.
Mayor, is there any update from the developer for Riverfront development?
There is nothing. So there's no
So
word.
we're waiting on them.
Correct. And as I said, I asked the city manager not to bring that to council until the applicant had worked out a number of things that the Planning Commission has asked them to, and so far they have not. So it is out in the world someplace. So we are waiting.
Ball's in their court.
Okay. We are patiently waiting or impatiently or not waiting or however we choose to.
I just want people to know that, it's not like we haven't heard anything, so.
Correct. And as I've told people, and if and when that comes to city council, we will communicate that as much as possible as we can, so everybody is very aware of it. Okay, next is a report from the Pink Creek Trailway Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few items tonight. During our last meeting, we got into a lengthy discussion on etiquette, trail etiquette, based on some citizens that had called in to discuss this issue specific to bikers and exceeding the posted speed limit. If there aren't any posted signs, but the charter says that we would like bikers to operate at a 15 miles per hour or less while on the trail, and apparently it's gotten a little out of hand, specific to the southern end of the trail. So there was an agreement for Rochester and Rochester Hills, those portions that the Trailway Commission would be putting up some signs to help educate the users of the trail that it's a congested area, recommending that they slow down and that they bike in single file, and as well as walk in single file to preserve the safety of all users of the trail. So as you're out there, Mark, you may see some signage here fairly in the near future. So the second item was our first discussion on the 2021 budget, and one good thing was that the member contribution from each municipality stayed the same at 18,000. I think we were already aware of that at the city level. There is a proposed 2% increase on the patrol program that each community is also then assessed or requested to pay based on the mileage of their portion of the trail. So that would equate to Blaine and Anthony, I think, an additional $23 for this year. So I think we'll be able to handle that. And finally, the connector bridge that links the Pollyann Trail and the Pink Creek Trail up at the northern end of the trail, that will be officially open now on November 9th. So there's a big ribbon cutting and opening ceremony. So just if you get a chance to get up there and see it, it's quite impressive.
Great news.
Yes. And I would just like to say that just by chance, I was riding up there and it is open and I rode on it. So
great. Good. Okay.
I will say
When is
though,
that?
I will say that it's pretty hilly. So if you're used to the flat, it's you better be prepared for a little Tour de France type stuff there. So, but yeah, that's the longest bridge I've almost ever seen. That's really impressive.
It's millions of dollars right there. And officially the date is November 9th is the official opening.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to say I actually drove there today and saw that. So it's one of the most impressive improvements that I've seen on a trail in a long time. So,
and if you keep going, then it kind of goes through a subdivision.
Yep.
And then there's another bridge they built like in the subdivision too. So it's really quite impressive, actually. So very nice. And I don't know where that other trail goes. I only go Rochester to Lake Orion and back. It's hard to. Very good. Next, we have a report from the Downtown Development Authority. Councilmember Peterson.
all right, thank you, Mayor. So in the beginning of the meeting was John Bry from Oakland County Main Street regarding the accreditation for our DDA. And I know you heard that at the last meeting. So he was there to discuss that. And then Chief Shettenholm spoke about some of the state guidelines that are impacting business and the events to give everybody updates on that. And then, of course, all the holiday events report. And there will be more information coming from Christy and the DDA regarding all the events and how they have those planned out and what they're really working towards. Other than that, if Nick wants to, I think I had to leave almost towards the end of the meeting. So regarding the outdoor dining platforms, not sure where that conversation led.
Yeah, thank you, Ann. Mr. Mayor, we agreed that we were going to try to push them out as long as we could. The agreement said we have the right to pull them October 21st. talked to Jason and the DPW staff, and we're just worried about if there's a snow, it's going to be a problem. Leaves are causing a little problem, but so we're going to literally start pulling them probably this week. I think DeMarco's is done with theirs. I think Boss Bar's done. So the ones that are done, we're going to slowly pick those up and get them out of here in the next couple of weeks. And Mr. LaChurco down at the cement plant is letting us store them there. DDA insured the lot to make sure it's they're protected, and we're going to store them outside there in one piece. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I would say, I think a couple of the restaurant owners reported out that they thought they were very beneficial to them, and they had a lot of business, and just anecdotally you could see that they always looked pretty crowded.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we agreed also that we would take that to the PAC. So they kind of unilaterally agreed what would it cost them, or what would be the impact fiscally if we did that again next year. And we said that we'd run that by the PAC before we brought
it. Next is a report from the Infrastructure Subcommittee. Councilmember Salvia or Albrecht.
I can comment on that. We had an infrastructure meeting this past week where we had the bids come in for the DWRF project, including the horizontal drilling portion. This is the major infrastructure project, including complete streets, wherever we are doing the DWRF project. So updating the city-owned water system, complete streets. This is a 3-year project. The bids just came in Wednesday. We met Thursday. It was supposed to be ready for today's meeting. A little disappointing that we couldn't bring it to today's meeting to have discussion around it for council. But we will have a special meeting, I hope, this week, because the timeline is very tight to get this through the state and get this done and get these 1.875 loans to get this done.
Right, and it got there so late that city administration not have time to get it done. So I think everybody got that survey, and the survey came back, and we're going to have that special meeting 6 p.m. on Thursday, this Thursday. I think Jane will send out the thing, and I'm not anticipating the meeting going too long, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, we hope not, and we plan on getting the full packet of information out tomorrow to council.
Okay, so 6 o'clock Thursday, and Jane will send out a
Zoom meeting along with the special agenda.
I was about to say Google Meet, but that's high school, so that doesn't count. Okay, anything further, Councilmember Salvia? All good? Okay. Next is a report from the Budget and Finance Subcommittee. Any of the three?
I could jump in for that. I think that was the dominant conversation this evening, what we've been working on in the Budget and Finance Committee. I think Anthony, Marcy, and our city manager have done a fantastic job at investigating healthcare options that were presented to and voted on this evening. I think that the fiscal state of our city is strong, even with some concerns that we have with the parking deck funding that we're hopeful will level out after the big bright light show this holiday season. And then one thing that we're thinking about, I think often on the budget committee, is the fire grant that we have that will be running out. We are that's top of mind, and options are being investigated on financing that further. And I'd also like to point out one thing that I don't think Anthony maybe gave our department enough credit for in his conversation was that we offered premium pay to our essential workers during this pandemic. We were reimbursed for all of that. And I know other communities did not recognize their essential workers in this way. And I'm just really proud of our city and our staff for having the foresight to do that, because it didn't come out of our budget. We got reimbursed for it, and we were still able to honor those workers who, really risked their well-being to be out there during this time, as well as we got funding for just having employees essential employees for, was it 2 months, Anthony, that we were covered? And that was something that we would have paid for no matter what. It was in our budget and we got reimbursed for that.
Very good. Thank you. Next is a report from the Principal Shopping District, Councilmember Harrison.
Oh, I will keep going. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend this meeting, but I did speak with Christy today and we have a few updates. We are working with residents to host a neighborhood light fight outdoor home decorating contest for the month of December. Staff provided updates on all of our holiday events. The Festival of Trees is one of the highlights. It's going to feature more sponsored trees than ever before, and they are working very hard with the Royal Park Hotel to ensure that it's a safe event for all attendees. In Town Magazine, I believe I mentioned last time, will be hitting homes November 9th. And installation of the big bright light show, I'm sure you all have seen, is going up downtown, and a completion date is still to be determined.
Very good. Councilmember Salvia.
Yes, Councilmember Harrison, I think this is a PSD initiative. The murals, the temporary murals that was up, is that PSD?
It is. That is the part of the Magical Mural Tour. They recruited artists from all over southeastern Michigan to bring a little bit of color to our downtown during a time of quarantine.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I know we talked about having more art in our downtown. I thought that was a great, I'll say, pilot to get some art in the community, and hope to see some in the future, maybe some permanent installations as well.
I hope so too.
Very good. Thank you. On to new business for referral and miscellaneous. Jane, I don't think there's anybody public comment. Okay. Receipt of the check register, and then on to the city manager's report. Update.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. So the check registers were just for September 30th, October 16th, and 22nd. And then for my manager's updates, the state, as I know council knows, but for the rest of the audience, the state legislature did pass, and then the governor signed Senate Bill 1108, allowing virtual meetings to continue. It retroactively went back to when the executive order concluded, and extended it through the end of this year. So that is a good thing for us that it continued. There is legislation that's still pending for January forward, and we'll keep council up as that continues to go through the process. Next, if council or the public hasn't heard, but the Christmas parade has been canceled for this year. They're rescheduling it for 2021. They're going to be doing some sort of an acknowledge and kind of look back, and more information will be coming out through the chamber on that. Finally, the bathrooms have begun their process of winterization as we're starting to get into the 30s. As each of the various bathrooms, from the comfort station to, the big bathrooms start to transition, we'll keep that updated on the city's website as each of the bathrooms do start to go through the winterization process. That's all I have.
Very good. Madam City Clerk, would like to give a update on the elections, and then also I think we'll have the chief opine as well on the election. So, Madam Clerk.
Yep, we are in the home stretch of election preparations. We have 8 more days to go. This Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock will be the public accuracy test of the voting equipment in council chambers. We will be open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and by appointment as needed. And also this Saturday, October 31st, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Polls, all of our polling locations are the same. I know Rochester Hills has had to change some of theirs and to some temporary locations, but we have not had to do that. So wherever you have voted in the past is going to be open on election day. There seems to be a lot of confusion with early voting versus absentee voting. So just a reminder that Michigan doesn't have early voting where you go in and vote like you would at a precinct. We have absentee voting where you get a ballot, you return it in a sealed envelope that's signed, and those are counted by the absentee county board on election day. And then I know that there are some questions and concerns with poll watchers and challengers, and I think Chief is ready to talk about some of that, and I can jump in and give some commentary.
I think poll watchers, observers, masks, people with intimidation of voters and stuff like that. So Chief, why don't you, and then the other thing is, I guess some of these things where they had huge voting lines like you see on TV.
I'll speak to that real quick. Michigan is one of only 5 states in the country that runs our elections at the local level with the local clerks. Those long lines that you're seeing are in the states where the county runs the elections. So for example, imagine Oakland County only having 1 to 10 polling locations county-wide. That's why you're seeing those long lines and people having to wait for 8 hours at a time. Here in Oakland County, we have 550 different precincts. And because Michigan has that legal limit of only having up to 2,999 registered voters in a precinct, that is the difference between the lines that you're seeing on TV and what we have here.
And I guess another question was, if the COVID is surging, are in some of these areas, I guess election workers were not showing up. So that's. So
I've been a good word overwhelmed with applicants for workers. So I have a good pool to pull from, but all of our normal workers that have worked for many years are working again. So, yep, I'm confident in the ones they've attended training. I haven't heard any concerns about the ones that worked in August as far as what we did in August versus what we'll do in November. So I think we're going to be fine.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, I think the biggest word I would have is to ask people to have confidence in the process. If you think about it, we've already got one of these elections under our belt in August, where we had to deal with COVID really at its height. And while it seems to be surging at the present time, we made it through that election. We made it through it quite well. Leanne's done a great job of briefing her election workers and training them so that they're aware of what the limitations are and what the requirements of all these different facets of the election. We've passed on these written materials also to our officers. We're going to be having a training tomorrow, in-person training with the officers will be working that day. We'll have a full complement of people, of officers working that day to make frequent checks of the election, each polling place. As I said, I think the biggest thing we have to do is remember that it's our job to restore confidence and calm in the people around us, and not to be, being overly concerned about things that have happened elsewhere or may have happened somewhere, or we heard or we shared something that we heard. So there's been nothing that's been indicated that we have a particular concern or problem here. But I think we're very well prepared should anything happen here, and we'll be monitoring the situation, and we'll be monitoring those people that share information with us about things that we should be concerned about as well. So I think we're prepared, and I have confidence in all those people, all the different facets of that election process.
Yeah, and Mayor, if I could add to that, when not only do we have a lot of long term workers who understand and know how the day is supposed to go, when I train them and teach them about the difference between the poll watchers and what they can do and the challengers what they can do, I also let them know that these are not adversaries. We're not starting off the day in a big fight or a brawl. These poll watchers and challengers have a part in the election process just as much as we do. And I teach them, be nice, be pleasant. If they have questions and you have the time and the ability to answer the question, then that's great. Take the time and to give them what they need on that day. And if you don't, then explain it to them. I tell them, be nice until it's time not to be nice. And then you call me, and then Chief and I will get involved. But, these poll watchers and challengers have a job and a duty to do as well, just like we do. So we go into it with a positive attitude and go from there.
Very good. And thank you, Chief, for being on top of this. We all want a fair and safe election. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think to add some clarification to, because I'm sure the citizens are asking, what's the difference between a poll challenger and a poll watcher, right? So, Leon, I know you can help, but my basic understanding is that a poll challenger has to go through a registration process through a sanctioned group, which in turn has to declare itself to the city clerk that they will be at a polling location. A poll watcher would be anyone interested in attending an election event and there must be a designated area for that watcher to reside during the polling activities. They cannot talk to any voter. They cannot indicate their support for any candidate.
Correct.
They simply all they can do is observe, correct?
Watch. Poll watcher. They can watch.
Very good.
From the moment the doors unlock at 6 a.m. till the doors close and the workers are leaving. So it's not while the polls are open thing. It's they're allowed to be in there to watch them start their day, end their day, and walk out with them if that's what they choose.
But not intimidate them.
We try, yes.
Right.
That's where we bring in the chief.
Right. Mayor Pro Tem Bavacqua.
And just for my personal clarification on that, do they have to register or sign up or get any approval, or do they just show up and say, I want to watch?
Okay, so poll watchers don't have to do anything. They can show up and they can watch. Challengers that are appointed by any of the major political parties don't have to register with the county clerk or with me either. They're limited to 2 challengers per party at a time. Now, if it is a challenger from an entity, a group that wants to promote the proposal N or whatever, or a group that wants to protect the sanctity of elections, anything like that, they have to have a deadline. They have to request permission and get approved by the county clerk, and then they can. I haven't heard that we have any groups like that right now. But I don't know if the filing deadline is passed yet either. But they do have to be registered to vote in the state. My workers call me and let me know who they are, and I speak to them and give them my cell number and say, if you have any concerns, please, reach out to me directly, and we'll see what we can do. So,
have we had those in the past? Because I don't remember them at my.
We have. Oh yes, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bavacqua.
And so what would happen if so many poll watchers showed up that they didn't have room to put them in a designated watching spot, and or if they were impeding the voting process for others?
Well, impeding, they would be removed.
Just in terms of
but-
like the sheer number of them may be an issue. So
never had that happen. Not that wouldn't this time. I think I'm going to have Jimmy, mark off like a 6x6 area. If you get a mob of people showing up, that's their intent to intimidate and confuse voters, and then we'll deal with that for sure. If they're quiet and they're just observing, we'll find room. I mean, there is room in all those rooms for quite a few people if we had to. For example, at OPC for precinct 5 and 6, we're going to use the stage. I mean, that is a huge area, the whole stage, and they can see both precincts from there and go from there. And over at St. Paul's, there's the left corner that we're going to use. That is a large area. So it would take an awful lot of people for us not to accommodate them.
Councilmember Sage.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Leanne, a poll watcher they have to be registered to vote in Michigan, or do they have to be registered to vote in Rochester?
Poll challengers have to be registered to vote in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
Poll watchers don't have to be registered. They don't have to be of certain age. They don't have to, there's no requirements other than they want to stand there and watch.
Okay.
And I think, it's important to point out, one, we've had these happen before. So we've already had these folks show up. And then from a practical standpoint, as Leanne has pointed out, you have to find, if you want one of these at each polling place in Oakland County, we have to find 500 interested people. We have to find 1,000 people if we want 2 at each place. So the likelihood of finding that many interested people that are going to come and bother or watch or participate in our election in Rochester or in a number of areas, the sheer numbers tell us that that's not a high likelihood of something that can happen. It's something we're spending a lot of time talking about and being concerned about and planning for, but the sheer numbers tell us that that's probably not a high likelihood.
And in the past, we have had to remove them. So, and in that particular instance, they got on the phone and they had someone there to replace them in 5 minutes. So it's not an entire challenger group that you kick out. It is a particular individual who's acting in a particular way, and then most likely they'll send someone else in, which is fine. So
I think it's going to be an interesting election.
Well, and also, council, remember too, I as of through today, I've given out 5,200 ballots. I'm still giving out 50 to 100 a day. We have 11,000 registered voters, so we're getting slim pickings for people to show up out there. So,
how many have been returned so far? Of the 200?
Well, as up through Friday, 3,300, but I probably have another 200 or 300 more that I'll be checking on tomorrow. So
my last question, I saw, again, must be watching too much news recently, but I saw some states count the absentees, as they come, or do they count them after they don't? I know in the past we've just counted them after the election is closed. How are we going to do that?
So we can start counting them at 7 a.m. that morning, and that is what time we'll start counting ours. I already have our absentee counting board members coming in and organizing the ballots, keeping them in number order, checking them against the list to make sure that what I have inputted on the computer is what they have on hand. They'll be in the day before to get everything set up and batched up in batches of 25, so that when they come in at 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, that they're ready to start opening envelopes and feeding them through the tabulators that we have. So there's a lot of pre-work that's done that we've already been working on. So
why do you have to wait to start counting them?
That's the state law.
Yeah.
That is the not the argument, but the new law that just recently passed allowing the larger municipalities over 25,000, all they can do before that day is slice the envelopes open, which, you know, over in Rochester Hills, when you have the case of they have 27,000 absentees, just being able to slice open that many envelopes of paper, that's a big thing for them to be able to do. So I still think that we are in good shape. You know, until we hit that 6,000 mark, I still think we're going to be in by 10, 11 o'clock and be ready to go.
Very good. Thank you very much, Leanne, for all your work on this. Councilmember Salve, anything for miscellaneous?
Nothing tonight, no.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilmember Peterson.
Just one thing. I was just going to thank Leanne for the work she's done. I did see in the newspaper that the list of the precincts were in there and things like that for the public announcement. And I just wondered, is there a way that we can actually ask to have that printed larger next time, since it's in the free newspaper?
Larger in the paper?
Yes.
I can ask, but I mean, we do pay for those legal ads to go in there too, but yes.
I only asked because Rochester Hills had a big 2-page spread because of their change. I just thought that, yeah, but it was more legible print. That was all. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, thank you very much for that. And also, I received a postcard from DTE Energy offering a tree service plan. So I didn't know if that was something that was sent out through to the whole entire community or not. That if we pay into them, it helps keep costs down. So I wasn't sure if that was how that would impact the community overall, if everyone was receiving that and we still pay for the tree trimming. So
I did not.
I didn't get one.
City Manager, did you?
They have not alerted me to that, but we can contact our rep and see.
Okay, I'll send you a picture of the
Yeah, please do.
postcard.
That'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I probably got scrubbed from DTE's list.
Yeah.
They unfriended you.
Councilmember Sage.
Nothing this evening, sir.
Anything further, Chief?
No, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Babakwa.
Yeah, a couple little things. So yeah, I guess there's an election coming up, and since there is, local politicians are out there and active. We could go Saturday. Had the opportunity to walk Alyssa Slotkin around the farmers market, which was fun. She really appreciated the chance to be here and be local and talk to some folks. So that was fun. And then the next day we had Governor Whitmer come to the collaboration station downtown, meet with a bunch of local business owners at a round table. I thought that was a pretty useful conversation. There was some good ideas from the local business perspective, and hope the governor was listening, and maybe there'll be some follow-up on some of that. I did get the opportunity to ask a question regarding something which impacts business, obviously, is the COVID situation. And I was curious to know, what's the threshold for considering any closures, seeing that our cases are back up to similar numbers that they were at the beginning of this pandemic when a lot of stuff was closed up. And also kind of preface it with, it's a different dynamic now. Things are a little different. And she provided a perspective that I thought was worth sharing tonight. She said that, things are slightly different in that, testing is up for number one. So therefore the positives are going to be up. And the numbers are not the exact same. It's not apples to apples in comparing to the beginning. They have hotspots that they're looking at versus like an unknown community spread where it's, not known exactly where some of these things are happening. They can focus a little more on them, more so address things with a scalpel versus a blunt instrument. The therapeutics are better, so the mortality rate is not where it was. It's lower. Hospitalizations, they're keeping an eye on. They're that's another factor to consider. It's not quite where it was at the beginning of the pandemic. An interesting thing you brought up too was viral load and some of the science on that. Since people are wearing masks more often now, it's going to protect you if you're wearing one somewhat, and obviously it's going to stop the virus from spreading if you're wearing one. So if people are getting infected, they're maybe not getting as much of the virus in as they would have in the past when we didn't wear masks and we didn't know things were a problem. So the level of illness and the symptoms you might be getting are not going to be necessarily as bad. So this is all stuff that's being considered in any sort of calculation as to when we should bring in some restrictions. She also said that it's not going to be her final decision, that she's going to rely on the health department, that she's going to have a lot of input, but that's how they're approaching it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's not really something I've heard from her necessarily in the media. I haven't, watched every press conference, but I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vaca had an interesting weekend. I guess I wasn't on that list either for the invites. I didn't expect to be though. Councilmember Harrison.
Nothing from me tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney Jeff, welcome.
Hello there. Nothing from me tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Nick, anything from you?
Nope, all set. Thank you.
Okay, I just had a couple things. Just one, I have a lot of questions about, are we going to continue with the virtual meetings? Yes, we are until further notice. The state has extended that, and I think it's prudent that everybody needs to stay safe during these times. We did have a business kind of opening. Andy Sackmar from Century 21 has retired and sold out his business. So there's a new, almost like super realtor going in there. It turned out it was a nice day. It was outside. It was safe. Everybody was wearing masks. That was the first business opening we've done in the city, I think, since March. So it was good to see that. Also, I wanted to thank Andy Sackmar. He's done a lot of good things for the city. You saw him at a lot of charity events and things. So good luck in his retirement. And also, I want to say to Jane Dixon, good luck in her retirement. She's going to be leaving the city. I think she's done an excellent job. I think we will all miss her. I want to thank her for helping me on some projects, helping me on some of my technology. She said Anthony helps her with her technology, so if she's helping me with my technology, that must really be kind of down the technology chain. So we wish Jane good luck into the future. And Jane, would you like to say anything while you're?
Just thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure, and I've greatly appreciated getting to know all of you.
Good. So thank you very much. And Jane is a Rochester person, and we hope to see her around town in the future. Anything further?
Mayor, did you want to comment on the HOA meeting?
Oh, yes, thank you. We had an HOA meeting on Saturday, which Councilmember Salvia and I attended, and City Manager Blaine. We talked about water rates and not raising the water rates. We talked about we had a presentation from our consultant on the water fund. We talked about the tree committee, talked about some of the things that we're doing, and we had a chance to answer some of the questions. So I think it was positive. I think they appreciated it. I heard offline from one of them that and it's just more of our communicating with our residents as best we can. So and thank you to Jane as well for helping put that together.
Yeah, and we'll share the PowerPoint presentation that was finalized with all of council in this week's manager's report.
Right. So again, we'll see everybody this Thursday at 6 o'clock for a special meeting. And thank you all for all your hard work and being here tonight, and have a great evening, everybody. Oh, one last thing. On the city manager's tentatively scheduled thing, It says on here the selection of the mayor and the mayor pro tem. I think that's the second meeting in November, not the first meeting. So that's the meeting that we changed for Lanyap. That's now going to be that Monday. Is that correct, Mr.
That is correct.
All right. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Right.